Hare Krishna, I welcome everybody to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhuji to enlighten us on topic Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Leela 2.118 verse onwards. Hare Krishna, Gaurang Darshan Prabhuji, please accept my humble obeisances. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much Prabhuji for joining and giving your valuable time and association this morning. Please take over the call Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Can I disturb you?
So, Antya Leela, verse number, second chapter. Can someone display it on the screen?
Yes, Prabhu, I'll do it.
For you, or I'll open for you.
I'll do it. Yeah, or I can also. Yeah, no problem. I'll also make. Mataji, can he be made co-host also, so that if he wants to display it?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, I'm just sharing the screen. Yeah, is the screen being seen? Can you see the screen, Mataji?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, we can see it.
Okay. Prabhuji, you can take over.
Prabhuji speaking is on.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible? Hare Krishna.
Yes,
Am I
Prabhuji,
audible to
we can
do it?
hear you, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, we'll start. जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंद जय द्वैत चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंद Hare Krishna. Today we are discussing from Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Leela, chapter 2. This is Chota Haridas episode. Text number 118. Durvara Indriya Kare Vishaya Grahan Daravi Prakriti Hare Munirapi Man. So strongly do the senses adhere to the objects of their enjoyment that indeed a wooden statue of a woman attracts the mind of even a great saintly person. Purport by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The senses and the sense objects are so intimately connected that the mind of even a great saintly person is attracted to a wooden doll if it is attractively shaped like a young woman. The sense objects, namely form, sound, smell, taste, touch, are always attractive for the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin. Since the senses and sense objects are naturally intimately related, sometimes even a person claiming control over his senses remains always subject to the control of sense objects. The senses are impossible to control unless purified and engaged in the service of the Lord. Thus, even though a saintly person vows to control his senses, the senses are still connected, perturbed by sense objects. So, this is the purport of Prabhupada. We should read the other ones also. Should we read the other shlokas?
Yes,
Matra sparsha duhitra va navipitta no bhavet balavanindriya gramo vidvamsam api karshati. So this shloka is from Srimad Bhagavatam, maybe from Yayati episode, where Yayati was too much attracted to the beauty of Devayani, and he even borrowed the youth of his own son to enjoy with Devayani. So in that context, this shloka comes, very instructive shloka, especially for the renounced order. One should not sit closely with one's mother, sister, or daughter, for the senses are so strong that they may attract even a person advanced in knowledge. Next. Shudra Jiva Sabamarkata Vairagya Kariyam Indriya Charana Bule Prakriti Sambhashiyam. There are many persons with little in their possession who accept the renounced order of life like monkeys. They go here and there engaging in sense gratification and speaking intimately with women. Purport. One should strictly follow the regulated principles, namely no illicit sex, no meat eating, no intoxication, and no gambling. And in this way, one should make progress in spiritual life. If an unfit person sentimentally accepts vairagya or takes sannyasa, but at the same time remains attached to women, he is in a very dangerous position. His renunciation is called markata vairagya, or renunciation like that of a monkey. The monkey lives in the forest, eats fruits, and does not even cover itself with a cloth. In this way, it resembles a saint, but the monkey always thinks of female monkeys and sometimes keeps dozens of them for sexual intercourse. This is called Markata Vairagya. Therefore, one who is unfit should not accept the renounced order of life. One who accepts the order of sannyasa but again becomes agitated by sensual disturbances and talks privately with women is called Dharma Dvaji or Dharma Kalanka, which means that he brings condemnation upon the religious order. Therefore, one should be extremely careful in this connection. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains the word Markata to mean restless. A restless person cannot be steady. Therefore, he simply wanders about gratifying his senses just to get praise from others, to get cheap adoration from his followers or people in general. Such a person sometimes accepts the dress of a sannyasi or babaji in the renounced order. Can someone scroll down? But cannot give up desires for sense gratification, especially for the association of women. Such a person cannot make advancement in spiritual life. There are 8 kinds of sensual enjoyment with women, including talking about them and thinking about them. Thus, for a sannyasi, a person in the renounced order, talking intimately with women is a great offense. Sri Ramananda Rai and Sri Narottam Das Thakur actually achieved the most elevated stage of renounced order, but those who imitate them, accepting them as ordinary human beings, fall under the influence of the material energy. For that is a great misunderstanding. So we read the purport and shlokas, these 3 shlokas. Actually, it's a very instructive episode that is going on in the Antya Leela, 2nd chapter. Okay. So now in this episode, you must be knowing the story. Chota Haridas, he went to beg some food and she was actually, Chota Haridas was actually begging some grains from a very elderly woman, but still there was a interaction, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately told him not to come close to him. So you know the whole story, but I'll just focus on these few shlokas where Prabhupada is very instructive, and even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kaviraj Goswami is also very instructive, how one should avoid intimate association with the opposite gender. So Indriya Charana Bule Prakriti Sambhashya. So there is a shloka in the in Bhagavatam 3rd canto. Tat srishta srishta srishteshu konva khandita dhik puman rishim narayana mrite yoshit mayeva mayaya. Means what is the extent of maya in the form of attraction towards opposite gender? It's very deep rooted. So except Narayana Rishi, who is completely sense controlled, an ordinary average human being cannot actually control one's senses when the temptation of the opposite gender in intimate circles is so deep. Kon vakhandita dhik puman. Even if a person is very qualified and very knowledgeable, still the attraction towards opposite gender is so deep rooted that even learned people also will get distracted from their spiritual practices because of attraction towards the opposite gender, even after practicing for such a long time. So now one has to very carefully monitor these these urges, sensual urges, if one's priority is to advance in devotional service. Now we will discuss multiple things here. Number one is about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's strictness, and his compassion behind that strictness. Then secondly, the actual concept of this sensual attractions. So Prabhupada somewhere in this purport he wrote, and we read now only, that the senses are so strong that they can distract even a elevated person also from focus in spiritual life. So Balavan Indriyagramo Vidvamsam api karshati. So Indriyas are Balavan, very strong, that Vidvamsam api karshati, even great Vidvamsas or very learned people also could get distracted. So now, because of the sensual distractions, one could just get immersed in this ocean of material existence and perpetually wander in this repeated cycle of birth and death. So we have this shloka. Etadhi atura chittana matra sparshechaya muhu bhavasindhuplavo drashto haricharyanu varnanam. Etadhi atura chittana means atura chitta means a person who is very much in anxiety. Why such an anxiety comes for a conditioned soul in this world? Etadhi atura chittana matra sparsha ichhaya muhu. Matra sparsha ichhaya. Because that person is constantly desiring to bring one's senses in contact with sense objects, there is a lot of anxiety. Matra sparsha muhu bhavasindhu. So because of these sensual attractions, one is just involved, one is immersed in an ocean of material existence. Plavo drashto, what is the boat that can make one cross over this ocean of material existence that actually exists because of sensual distractions? That is Haricharyana Varnanam, the process of glorifying Lord Hari's pastimes, Nama Rupa Guna Leela. So this shloka comes in first canto, 6th chapter, where Narada Muni was discussing with Vyasadeva. Now, here the shlokas say that a man who is unduly attracted to woman ruins one's spiritual life. But same holds true for women also. A woman who is unduly attracted to man on a material plane for sense pleasures, woman also will get distracted from spiritual life. So this is equally applicable to both the genders. Although sometimes only men are mentioned, so we can't just say only women are distracting men, but men also could be distracting to women. So basically, attraction towards opposite gender is one of the greatest difficulties in spiritual life, and it is quite natural for a person who is within a material body in this material world. So one must be very careful about it. So there is this 11th canto of Bhagavatam says how to protect ourselves from this distractions. It all begins with eyes. Now, can someone open this purport? In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a 10th canto, 44th chapter. 10th canto, 44th chapter. In that, can we search? Or I can open my folio also. So in that, there is one shloka, Chakshuraga Chitta Sangha. I can just open 10th canto. It comes in a purport of Prabhupada only. If not 44, at least 43. I just want to show all the 10 steps.
Yeah, just 1 second. I'll just go to the detailed view and then I'll show. Okay. One purpose, right?
Okay, if we are not getting, then it's okay.
The next, I can try the next chapter too, just in case.
Okay, fine, no problem. Anyways, I'll remember. I remember something. Then I.
Okay.
That's Chitshuraga Chitta Sangha. There are some 10 stages in which a Cupid could affect a person. So the 10 stages are: first is Chakshuraga. Chakshuraga means attraction through eyes. The next is Chitta Sangha, means intense attachment through one's mind. So Chakshuraga, Chitta Sangha. Then one will just lose all shame, one will lose all sleep, one will lose all intelligence. One can become so shameless that he would try to pursue that goal of sense gratification even in public also. One will lose interest in all external things. So ultimately one will faint and one will even die. So there are some 10 stages in which a person will be affected by Cupid. So if we can stop at the first stage itself, we can avoid a lot of embarrassment of going through many other stages. Chakshuraga, Chitta Sangha. So basically sensual distractions begin with one's eyes. So when the eyes are very restless, then the eyes keep wandering here and there. So the visual impressions that enter, yeah, this is the one, correct. So Chakshuraga is the first stage where you can get attracted to some sense object through eyes. Then Chitta Sangha is intense attachment in the mind. Then next is Sankalpa. Third stage is Sankalpa, where you make a firm determination within the mind to attain that sense object. Nidra Cheda, one will lose sleep. Fifth stage is Tanuta, one will become emaciated. Vishaya Nivritti, one will lose all interest in other objects. Trapanashaha, one can become shameless. Unmada, one will get mad. Murcha, one will faint. Mriti, one can even die. So now these 10 stages of Cupid happen to all mortal beings who are in this material world. However, if one is fortunate enough, one can have these 10 stages in one's relationship with Krishna. Actually, only first 9 stages happen to devotees. The 10th stage of Mrityu or death will not happen to a devotee. But Chakshuraga, if we can get attracted to the Supreme Lord Krishna through our eyes by seeing darshan, that's great. Then Chitta Sangha, we will develop intense attachment towards Krishna in our mind. Sankalpa, we will be determined to attain Krishna. Nidra Cheda, one can even lose sleep. So this happens to the gopis of Vrindavan, this happens to the Mathura Vasis and Dwaraka Vasis. So actually in original state of one's pure consciousness, one is attracted towards Krishna, but that attraction towards Krishna is diverted towards so many other material objects. So these are the 10 stages of Cupid. One can safely protect oneself from these 10 stages by focusing on devotional service, as Prabhupada indicates in one of these purports. So, and one more thing is, just like if you put some, say, for example, somebody has practiced devotional service for such a long time, so 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, then the distraction will be less. Actually, the distraction of opposite gender could happen at any stage. That does not mean that whatever advancement that I have made is totally gone. But if one is not careful enough, then one can be distracted at any point. That's why we have a lot of examples in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yayati got distracted, he's such an elevated soul, but still he got distracted through the association of Devayani. And Pururava got distracted by Urvasi. And also we have Brahma himself was running behind Vak, and another Shiva was running behind Mohini Murti. So like that, there are so many examples in our Vedic literatures where such strictness, such distractions are discussed very openly. So now we need to understand, when the scriptures are presenting the distractions of great souls, especially great souls getting affected by lust sometimes, so we need to understand that they are still exalted. So it's not a license for us to disrespect these great souls. In the third canto, 12th chapter, in the context where Sukadeva Goswami describes about Brahma getting distracted by work, Prabhupada gives 3 golden principles. How should we see the distractions of great souls? When a great soul does a mistake, for example, he gets affected by lust and he runs behind in the opposite gender, something like that. So when a great soul does a mistake, first thing is we must see the mistake as a mistake. Just because a celebrity has done this mistake, the mistake does not become bona fide. Mistake is a mistake, whoever does it. So we should not lose discrimination while seeing the mistakes of great people. Or we should not think that, such a great person is doing, maybe it's bona fide, I will also do. So that's not the take-home message there. See the mistake as a mistake. Second point, very important. Although the great soul has done the mistake, it's not a license for us to disrespect the great soul and then discount such a person's great contributions and good service. So when we see the mistakes of great souls, we should not disrespect them. And third important aspect that Prabhupada highlights is that one should never think that one will never be affected by this. Okay, if such a great soul is affected by this anartha, I could also get affected by anartha. So better I be very careful. So you can open one shloka, 5th canto, 18th chapter, 4th shloka, 5.18.4. So it's a very instructive shloka where Prabhupada says, Vadanti Vishwam Kavayasmanashwaram Pashyanti Chadhyatma Vido Vipaschitaha Tathapi Muhyanti Tava Jamayaya Subhismitam Krutyamajam Natosmitam. So Vadanti Vishwam Kavayasmanashwaram. This you can show the translation. So learned Vedic scholars who are advanced in spiritual knowledge certainly know that this material world is perishable, and there are logicians and philosophers, they all know everything. In trance, they realize the factual position of this world and they even preach this truth to other people, but still they are bewildered. Pashyanti chadhyatma vido vipaschitaha tathapi muhyanti tava ajamayaya. So although they are so advanced, still muhyanti, they can get bewildered. By what? Tava ajamayaya. Oh Lord, by your maya, they can get bewildered, by your illusory energy. So, suvismitam krutyamajam natosmitam. Suvismitam is they are thoroughly confused and bewildered. So in this way, this is a section where the residents of Jambudvipa were offering prayers to their respective deities. So Prabhupada writes, you can scroll down. I will just show one beautiful line that Prabhupada has written in the purport. So Prabhupada says that even liberated souls also, who have sufficient knowledge of the temporary nature of this material world, who can convince other people also about the temporary nature of this material world, even they could also get distracted. So by here you see, a liberated soul is a person who has sufficient knowledge of this material world and is therefore unattached to the bodily conception of life. But because of association with the modes of material nature for a very long time, even liberated souls sometimes become captivated by the illusory energy. Here the reason is revealed. Due to inattentiveness in the transcendental position. Due to inattentiveness. So, very important principle. Just because I am practicing bhakti since 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, I may not fall down. That is not the message there. Yes, definitely such long practice of bhakti will certainly have a purifying effect on the consciousness, no doubt about it, if that practice is sincere. But if that practice makes one very inattentive, and if one becomes overconfident and becomes inattentive, then distraction can happen at any time. For example, somebody is climbing stairs. He's trying to go on the terrace. So, not stairs. Say there are no stairs. He's climbing a ladder. So now say he has to climb some 50 steps. So he went. So 4 rungs he went. and he was initially a little fearful. Somehow he managed to reach the 5th step, and he is very happy. Oh, I reached 5th step. I have 45 steps more to go ahead. Then, with great fear and caution and care, he went up to the 10th step. He's quite happy. Oh, I have come till this point. He gains some confidence, and then he goes to the 20th step. He gains even more confidence. So then he goes to 30th step. At the time, he gains even more confidence. But if that confidence becomes overconfidence, and oh, I can easily go, then from there, if he becomes little inattentive, he falls down from there, and from the 30th step or 40th step, he will break his limbs. Now, if he falls from, say, 4th step or 5th step, he may not affect his body so much. But if he falls from very elevated position, from there, if he just gets down, he may break his leg or head. We don't know. So the higher altitudes that we reach in bhakti, the greater is our responsibility, and greater should be our commitment and caution in our practice towards the practice of the process. So one should never feel overconfident. One should never think that I have traversed the path till this point, so now no more obstacles will come, so I can just relax. So one should never feel like that. One should be attentive at every step, in fact at every moment. Otherwise Maya is very powerful. Maya can distract even such exalted souls also. So now Bhagavatam, just to emphasize this principle, Bhagavatam presents the distractions or embarrassing moments or humiliating episodes of several great souls also. I just enumerated a few of them. Pururava, then Yayati, then Brahma, then Shiva. They were all, they're getting affected by lust apparently. So they are being discussed. And there are other mistakes also. For example, right in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam only, Vyasadeva has written so much of literature, and he was chastised by Narada Muni. Narada Muni was saying that, oh Vyasadeva, you have written so many scriptures, but you have not sufficiently emphasized Bhakti Yoga. You have overemphasized on 4 Purusharthas. Jugupsitam, it's an abominable work. So in this way, Narada Muni chastised Vyasadeva. So now mistakes of great souls are discussed in Srimad Bhagavatam very openly, not to give us a license to criticize them or blaspheme them or minimize their exalted position. It is to give us a caution note. It is to give us a very important message that even great souls also could commit some mistakes. So if they can commit some mistakes, how careful you should be. You are a struggling sadhaka. You are not a very advanced person. So Bhagavatam very liberally discusses the mistakes of great souls. Now once Narada Muni, in his previous life, in the previous day of Brahma, he was a Gandharva named Upabarhan. And he was very young and youthful, and he's very handsome, and he was always surrounded by so many beautiful women. Once the great Prajapatis have organized a Sankirtan festival, and Narada Muni went to that festival along with his girlfriends, and then he was singing some materialistic songs. Prabhupada writes in the purport somewhere, cinema songs, something like that. He was singing some materialistic songs, and the Prajapatis became quite upset. You are behaving like a Shudra, better you become a Shudra. And then he became the son of that maid servant. Then he served Bhaktivedantas, later he became Narada Muni. Now Narada Muni was sitting in the audience and hearing this whole episode as Sukadeva Goswami was narrating this incident. So once Narada Muni also was like this. Narada Muni was distracted. Narada Muni was singing materialistic songs along with some girls around him. So Nalakavara and Manigriva, so many such episodes. Now Narada Muni was not telling Sukadeva Goswami, why are you telling these kind of episodes? It's very embarrassing. You are telling about me. Now I'm quite good. So basically, Vyasadeva was the author of Bhagavatam. Vyasadeva's embarrassing moments in front of Narada Muni were recorded in the pages of Bhagavatam. Narada Muni is the one who inspired Vyasadeva to write Bhagavatam. Within Bhagavatam, Narada Muni's previous life, where he was associating with so many girls, that was also mentioned. Shiva is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, but he's running behind Mohini Murti was mentioned there. Brahma is the universal creator, but he's running behind Vak was also mentioned there. So Bhagavatam presents the mistakes of great souls so that we learn lessons. We learn what not to do, seeing their activities. It's not a license for us to criticize them or minimize their position, but it is a very important lesson for us. It is the compassion of great souls. Great souls allow their embarrassing moments to be published in literature, to be studied by all generations to come, so that they can learn. If we just mention these mistakes in the scriptures, the future generations will understand what not to do. Let them learn, let them take advantage, let them advance in their spiritual life. So, out of their deep compassion, they allow their mistakes also to be published in this way. Now, no common person would be comfortable that his or her embarrassing moments or some mistakes are just printed and then published like that. The Bhagavatam does it for our instruction. That is the compassion of great souls who allowed such things to be propagated, so that we learn our own lessons. So now, coming to Chaitanya Charitamrita. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have seen Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu extremely strict with Chota Haridas. So Chota Haridas did not actually indulge in any deep sense gratificatory activity. He was just begging some grains, that too from an elderly lady, motherly lady. But there was some exchange, there was some discussion that happened. So then Mahaprabhu said he was talking intimately with women. So in this episode especially, Mahaprabhu seems to be extremely strict. Why is it so? Why he has to be so strict like that? Prabhupada clarifies in the later purports that Mahaprabhu did it so that people in future would not quote Chota Haridas as an example and do whatever they want to do with opposite gender and maintain illicit connections. So sometimes there is a tendency in some people to exploit certain examples to suit their own situation and then justify their own mistakes. So Mahaprabhu, being a very strict and exemplary sannyasi, does not want any of his followers or associates and intimate devotees to be misquoted in that way. So wherever there is a necessity, Mahaprabhu become extremely strict with such people. So here is the case of Chota Haridas. Later, Mahaprabhu definitely showed some mercy on him, no doubt about it. But such strictness, such extreme strictness, we don't find in Lord's every pastime. But in some cases, Mahaprabhu is very strict. Now, Mahaprabhu's strictness is very much seen in few other cases also. Kala Krishna Das. Again, that's also another distraction due to sensual attraction only. So Kala Krishna Das was a Brahmana. He was accompanying Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during his South India Yatra. So somewhere in South India, this Kala Krishna Das was attracted to some gypsy women and he went into their camp, leaving Mahaprabhu. Then Mahaprabhu became very upset. He personally went there and the gypsy people somehow allured this Kala Krishna Das and took him into their camp. Then they even tried to attack Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with their weapons. Then Mahaprabhu, somehow by his mystic power, all these weapons chopped up the limbs of these Bhattadharis only, and Mahaprabhu just pulled this Kala Krishna Das by his sikha and then brought him to his company. So Prabhupada writes about Kala Krishna Das that if one is not attentive, one could be distracted, one could become a victim of Maya, even in the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if one is not determined, even the Supreme Lord also cannot save him. You can read in purports, I think somewhere in the 10th chapter somewhere, Prabhupada writes about Kala Krishna Das, Madhya Leela. So this comes when Mahaprabhu was about to go to Vrindavan. So at that time, not in 10th chapter, some other chapter, I don't remember the section now. So Mahaprabhu was going to Vrindavan. Then Nityananda Prabhu says, take somebody with you. Then Mahaprabhu kind of indicated that you have sent one assistant, Kala Krishna Das. I had to become his servant. I had to go and then he gets distracted, and then I have to go and bring him back to my service. So then they had arranged Balabhadra Bhattacharya to assist Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his Vrindavan Yatra. So in that context, Prabhupada writes, so Kalakrishna Das was directly, personally serving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Still, this Kalakrishna Das was distracted by this Bhattatharis. So now one can never be overconfident. So I have been practicing bhakti since long time. I am doing this, I am doing that. So I will never be attracted by opposite gender. One should never be overconfident like that. As long as one is in the material body, with material senses, in this material world, that too in Kali Yuga, sensual distractions are there. One needs to be very cautious. And one should, as I said, the 10 stages of Cupid were there. The first stage is Chakshuraga, attraction towards eyes. So we need to somehow protect our eyes from getting exposed to such sensual, scenes. So out of sight, out of mind. This is the principle given in Uddhava Gita. So we remember those sense gratificatory experiences that we have had in the recent past. But if we fasted from such sense gratification for such a long time, then the possibility of remembering them or getting distracted by them gets reduced. So out of sight, out of mind. So it all begins with eyes. So, but whenever we get distracted by some senses, mainly the eyes, it all begins with the eyes. Now, if you want to eat some delicious item, we see that item first, then we get attracted. Some water may come from our mouth also. Then we feel like eating it. Then we make an endeavor. Other senses will follow. First eyes get attracted, then other senses will follow. So now ears are also there. Ears are also, they hear first and then they get attracted. So like that, eyes are considered, especially in terms of lust, eyes are considered very the beginning of one's distraction because of lust. So now coming back to Kalakrishna Das example. So Kalakrishna Das was distracted by sense gratification even in Mahaprabhu's presence. Okay. Now Chota Haridas also was like that, but not exactly like that. Chota Haridas was only speaking, and it's not very clearly mentioned that he was having any like deeper distractions. But still, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is very strict. Just like Lord Ramachandra has banished Mother Sita Devi, so that in future the kings should not misquote Lord Ramachandra. So Ram was living with Sita Devi, although Sita Devi stayed for 1 full year, almost 1 year in Ravana's place. People might quote Ram and then have some illicit connections with women. Oh, he is doing like that. Why can't I do like that? They may say. Although Sita went through Agni Pariksha, and then Sita was completely pure. Ram knows it completely and Sita knows completely. And all the saner section of the society, they know it well. But there are always few insane people who might misunderstand or who might misquote certain examples to suit their own shortcomings and to justify their own mistakes. So Lord Ram did not want to give any scope to such people. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also did not want to give any scope to such people. Especially, he is setting a very high standard for the renounced order. So now these are examples of extreme strictness. Lord Ramachandra banishing Sita seems very harsh. Sometimes we cannot digest it. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu abandoning Chota Haridas, that also seems extremely harsh. We cannot digest it. But they have a very important reason behind it, and their intimate devotees understand the motivations of the Supreme Lord. They don't misunderstand Lord Chaitanya or Lord Ramachandra or any other pastime where the Lord shows some extreme strictness. And there are other episodes where the Lord shows extreme kindness. Putana came to kill Krishna, and Krishna made her a mother. Padbhyam bhakta hridistabhyam vandyabhyam loka vanditaihi angam yasyaha samakramya bhagavanapi tatstanam yatu dhanyapi sasvarga bhavapajanani gatim Krishna bhukta stana kshiraha kimugavo numataraha So Padbhyam Bhakta Hridistabhyam, the Lord's divine lotus feet are there always in the hearts of devotees. And Putana was not fortunate enough just to get darshan of Krishna's lotus feet. Krishna was practically embracing Putana. Angamyasyaha samakramya Bhagavan apitastanam. All the Putana is saying, leave me, leave me. But still Krishna is not leaving Putana only. How fortunate Putana is. And then Krishna gave Putana the position of a motherly nurse in the spiritual world. So Krishna is so kind. And not only Putana, many other demons who came like Aghasura, Arishtasura, Krishna gave liberation to them. Some of them he had sent to spiritual world also. Some of these demons, Krishna has reinstated them in their previous positions as demigods or Gandharvas or whatever they might have been. So there are cases of extreme strictness, there are cases of extreme mercy. Now we need to balance both. Somebody is too distracted, somebody is very overconfident, somebody is very loose in one's practice, he is losing determination. There you can't just go and tell that person that Kamva Dayalum Sharanam Vrajema. Krishna has given mercy to Jagai Madhai, Mahaprabhu. Krishna has given mercy to Putana. So although you are overconfident, you are proud, you are puffed up, you are doing this and that, still Krishna will forgive you. Don't worry. You can't encourage such a person's nefarious activities like that. You should quote Chota Haridas example there. And you should quote many other stricter examples. Now there are other examples like Chitraketu has commented on Lord Shiva. He was cursed to become a demon. And there are many other examples like Pandavas underwent a lot of suffering. There are examples of so many great devotees undergoing a lot of suffering. So you can quote such examples to such a person who is getting distracted. On the other hand, somebody is too discouraged and he is very depressed and he's feeling that, oh, I'm waste, I have done this mistake, I have done that mistake, I'm good for nothing, I cannot do any service properly, I can chant properly. Like that, he's feeling so embarrassed and humiliated. There you just don't quote the stricter examples where the Lord was being very strict with devotees. Tell him, Kamva Dayalum Sharanam Vrajema. Krishna is so merciful. So like that, you use the examples of extreme mercy to encourage devotees who are in depression. Use the examples of extreme strictness to give a caution note to people who are getting overconfident and puffed up. Like to such a person who is very puffed up, you should quote this shloka from the Adilila. What is that shloka? In the Adilila, there is a shloka that says, Bahujanma kare yadi Shravana Kirtan tabuna paive Krishna pade premadhan. So Bahujanma kare yadi Shravana Kirtan means even if you chant and hear for thousands of lifetimes, still you may not get Krishna prem. Krishna pade premadhan you may not get. So now such strict shlokas or strict episodes will keep us on ground. Someone will not get too distracted. And there are certain easy, like very merciful episodes. You can use them to encourage devotees. So both are there. So basically Shastras are like mother. Mother may sometimes hug the child out of love and affection. Mother may sometimes chastise the child or punish the child, or the child is very mischievous. So, but mother's nature is not contradictory. Mother is basically tuned into the mood of the child. If the child is very mischievous, mother has to chastise. And if the child is very well behaved, then mother can just caress the child and show so much of love and affection. So basically, just as mother reciprocates with the mood of the child, similarly, Shastras are also like mothers, where they have different episodes of strictness, episodes of balance, episodes of extreme mercy. So we need to use them with due diligence under the guidance of great souls, right? We should know when to use which example. Just like when you are solving a problem in mathematics, you should use the right formula to solve the problem. If you use the wrong formula in the wrong context, then the whole formula is correct, but the application, the context of application is like irrelevant. So then we may not get the answer, we may lose marks. So similarly, we should also study scriptures under the guidance of great devotees, and we should understand the context of pastimes and principles and apply them for our progressive practice of bhakti. So Mahaprabhu is extremely strict with Kalakrishna Das. Mahaprabhu is extremely strict with Chota Haridas. Mahaprabhu is also strict with Gopinath Patnaik. You know, in Anjalila there is one episode in the 9th chapter. Gopinath Patnaik had to pay some tax to the government, but he did not pay the tax. He was using the tax to see dancing girls. So then when the king asked for money, then Gopinath Patnaik says, "You take my horses." And there was some misunderstanding between Gopinath Patnaik and the prince there, and somehow at one stage he was put on changa. Changa means a device where a person could be thrown in upraised swords, so that he, out of gravitational force, that person will just gradually go down and he will die like that. So Gopinath Patnaik was lifted on the changa so that he could be killed. So all the devotees were coming and telling Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "Mahaprabhu, please show some mercy on him." Then Mahaprabhu says, "What should I do? I should go and beg some money from the king." So basically he is indebted to the king. He is supposed to pay the money back to the king, and the king is trying to extract. So what is the sannyasi's role there? So Mahaprabhu externally showed so much of indifference to Gopinath Patnaik's case. I will not elaborate the whole pastime. It's a very elaborate pastime. So I hope you know the pastime. So, but ultimately, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed some mercy on him, and somehow by Mahaprabhu's indirect intervention through other devotees and other parties, Gopinath Patnaik was released from this punishment. His salary was doubled. He has a silken wrapper on his head. His debt was relieved, and he was again posted in the same job at the same place. So in this way, Mahaprabhu is showing extreme mercy on one hand and showing too much of strictness on the other hand. So why he does like this? The reason is, ultimately the Lord is merciful towards his devotees, but as a sannyasi, he has to set the right example. So now he cannot approve Kalakrishna Das's mistake. Now Kalakrishna Das, he was distracted with Bhattatharis. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just dragged him back to his company, and then after the South India Yatra was over, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brought this Kalakrishna Das and presented him in front of Nityananda, Jagadananda, Damodar and Mukunda and told them, "I am not responsible for this person. He was distracted even in my presence. Now I have nothing to do with this person. You do whatever you want with him." And then Mahaprabhu left. Kalakrishna Das was crying profusely. Tears were just falling from his eyes, but Mahaprabhu did not show any mercy. He was totally indifferent. So then Mahaprabhu just left. But if Mahaprabhu was indifferent like this, he would have abandoned Kalakrishna Das in the South India Yatra only. Okay. So when did this incident happen? When Mahaprabhu was somewhere in South India. So on one side of Yatra. But Mahaprabhu allowed Kalakrishna Das to accompany him throughout the South India Yatra. South India Yatra was 2 years. And this must have happened somewhere in between the South India Yatra. But at least around a year or so, Mahaprabhu allowed Kalakrishna Das to render service to him. And after Mahaprabhu completed his South India Yatra, when he came back to Jagannath Puri, then he said, "I am not responsible for him." Because if Mahaprabhu abandons him in South India only, where will he go? Mahaprabhu very strategically brought this Kalakrishna Das all the way to Jagannath Puri, and in front of Nityananda, Jagadananda, Damodar, Mukunda, he said, "I am not responsible for him." So that Nityananda, Jagadananda, Damodar, Mukunda can show some mercy on Kalakrishna Das. So if the Lord becomes strict and abandons one devotee, he shows mercy through other devotees. Okay. So when the Lord abandons, when Lord becomes strict, the devotees become kind. And if the devotees become strict, the Lord becomes kind. That happened in Amogha's first time. So Sarvam Bhattacharya was abandoning Amogha. I have nothing to do with this fellow. But Lord Chaitanya just protected him from cholera. So somehow or the other, ultimately the Lord is compassionate and merciful upon all his devotees. even if they do some mistakes. That's the whole theme of sixth canto of Bhagavatam, Poshana. So he disapproves the mistakes of people, but he doesn't disown his devotees. That's the whole theme of sixth canto and several other episodes of Srimad Bhagavatam Chaitanya Charitamrita. So now, although he abandoned Kalakrishnadas, he is merciful. Although he neglected Chota Haridas, ultimately Lord Chaitanya showed mercy. Chota Haridas would come and sing in the form of a Gandharva, and although he apparently said, I have nothing to do with this Gopinath Patnaik's case, still he showed mercy. So in some of these cases like Kalakrishna Das, Gopinath Patnaik, Chota Haridas, Lord Chaitanya showed extreme strictness, but internally he was very kind also. So we should not misunderstand the Supreme Lord, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna, when he is when they are being very strict with devotees. Internally they have mercy, and when they are being strict, they have an important message to give all of us, to all the sadhakas that are going to practice bhakti in future. So if Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because Lord Chaitanya is extremely strict with Chota Haridas, that serves as a great example for the renounced order. You should not have intimate connection with the opposite gender. Like this, only if there is an important service, there could be an interaction. Unnecessarily just discussing and then getting into each other's personal lives, this and that, it's not necessary. Especially interaction between renounced order and women is prohibited, which is if it is very undue. Regarding service, one can definitely have some interaction, but one has to restrict it towards that only. So that's what Prabhupada also emphasizes in the purport, because the nature of this material world, nature of this material senses and material body is to get distracted. So how long we should tolerate like this? So at one point we will be relieved from this. Yes, if you become like really pure devotees, it will happen. But generally, this shloka is quoted. Shaknoti haiva yashodham praksharira vimokshana कामक्रोधोद्भवं वेगं सयुक्तः ससुखी नरः शक्नोति हैव यशोढं प्राक् शरीर विमोक्षण. Till the point of giving up this material body, kama, krodha will continue to exist. One will become lusty, one will become angry, as long as one is in the material body. So one has to take all precautions not to become victimized by these anarthas, by following the principles nicely, by doing chanting, by hearing philosophy, and out of sight, out of mind, that principle. There are so many ways. And Prabhupada, somewhere in today's purports only, towards the end, he also indicated that if we are fixed up in our practice of devotional service, then one can be relieved of all these anarthas and distractions. But if we are distracted in our practice of bhakti, then there is a lot of turmoil that we are going to invite in our progress, right? Progress can be hampered. Whatever progress that we have made may not be lost, because whatever credits that we gain by practicing bhakti are eternal, but those credits will become inaccessible when we unnecessarily commit certain mistakes and then get distracted and do other things. So we need to cautiously perform bhakti and not to be inattentive. Inattentiveness is basically when the mind is distracted. If we allow the mind to go somewhere else, then mind will not allow us to come back. So we will allow the mind, where we become very kind to the mind. Okay, mind is going there. Okay, let it go. We are chanting. Mind thinks of something. Immediately, if you become diligent and then bring mind back and put on the holy name, that's nice. Yato yato nishcharate manas chanchalam ashtiram. Chanchalam himanaha Krishna pramati valodridam. Mind's nature is to get distracted, but the sadhaka should be diligent enough to bring the mind back like that. But if we become lenient to the mind, if the mind just goes somewhere, then mind will not be lenient with us. Mind goes somewhere. If we allow it to go, mind will take us also along with the mind. Then it's very difficult to come back. Then by the time we call the mind back, already 4 rounds are over. My God, 4 space float rounds. Let me chant the next 12 rounds. That they also are chanted like that only. So basically, it's the responsibility of a sincere sadhaka to control the mind and keep the senses in control in the association of devotees, and that happens in the association of devotees very easily. When we are with like-minded devotees, then it is easy. The whole practice becomes easy. If we struggle alone, then it's little difficult. So that's why we should always be in the association of devotees. So these are a few thoughts, and definitely we should not minimize the importance or greatness of these great souls. Although their mistakes are being discussed in Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita in this way, we should not unnecessarily criticize or blaspheme them or look down upon them. So Lord is always kind towards them. At the same time, Lord wants to give us an important message through them. And we need to understand the motivation of the Supreme Lord and then try to align with the message that He is intending to give all of us. Okay, thank you all very much. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We have about 4 minutes. Any comments or questions we can take?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It was a very interesting class. You brought out a lot of perspectives about how the Lord is always compassionate, even externally, though He may show some anger, and also the importance of understanding that these great personalities should be respected, and also we learn something from them. Thank you very much for a very beautiful class. Anyone has any questions, comments, or realizations for Prabhuji, please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for a nice class. So I have one question. Like in another class, I heard that like our mind is like our biggest enemy. So how do we like why do we think like why do we use it that why do we think that then if our mind is like our enemy? It says in the Bhagavad Gita like our mind is our biggest enemy, so then why do we use it if we think that it's our biggest enemy?
Basically, what is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita or Bhagavatam at different places is our mind, if it is uncontrolled, it becomes our enemy. The same mind, if it is controlled and trained to focus on bhakti, it is our dearest friend. Like that. So the statement has two parts. Uncontrolled mind is like enemy because that will distract us from the path of bhakti and even take one to hell also. But controlled mind and the mind that is trained in bhakti is our dearest friend.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Means always remembering Krishna and never forgetting Krishna is the essence of bhakti. And we do that with mind. We remember Krishna within our mind. So mind has an important role to play in bhakti. So we need to channelize the activities of mind, that is thinking, feeling, and willing towards bhakti. Then we can progress. But if we allow the mind to get distracted, then it becomes enemy.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu.
Any other questions, or shall we end here?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, as usual, very nectarian class. Koti Dandavat Pranam. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev ki jai. Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Shall we end the call here? Or?
Yeah, and anyone else has any question one final time, or we can end the call?
Thank you, Prabhuji, for such a beautiful class.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Questions? I do see a couple of unmute.
I don't have a question. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful class. I just very much appreciate how you gave so many detailed, pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, showing how even though externally he may not look like he's merciful and how important it is for him to be strict. But also I love the point that you brought out about how when he's not being externally merciful, that he makes sure that his devotees,
Devotee.
yes, are merciful. And it works the other way around as well. When they're not being so merciful, he is sure to be merciful. So thank you for bringing that point up. I had never heard it said that way before. Thank you.
I had mentioned all these points and especially the pastimes of Gopinath Patnaik and Kala Krishna Das and a few others in this book, Disapproved but Not Disowned. There's a small book. So in that I had elaborated on all these principles of the Lord's forgiveness and accommodating and disapproving the mistake very strongly, at the same time not disowning the person and still being kind to that person. So
Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Kirtina Mataji, we're trying to unmute. Do you have anything to say? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. That book is really, really wonderful, and I'll share the Amazon link on the group later. If anyone wants to buy it, it's just $1, and you can buy it. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your very kind association, time, and enlightening us on this very sweet topic of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thank you. So, if there are no more questions or comments, we can end the call. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः
सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः।
अनंतकोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद
जय
जय।
जय।
His Grace Gaurang Darshan Prabhu ji ki
Jai. Thank you,
jai.
Prabhu.
thank you.
Thank you.